That was in the Black. That was in the Black Sea. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. He just flew right over, and the whole ship just went down.
Yep. And all it is they had to get close enough to send out the shutoff code to the chips. And the shutoff access is what most people would call like the back door. Like this software has a back door, and this software has a weakness. Well, those weaknesses aren't just there because the people that wrote the code weren't very good coders. They were there on purpose so that the NSA and their software out there that was created to access these microchips. And there's also software out there to access platforms. That's what the Hammer software, and it's HAMMR, not HAMMER. That was revealed in the mid 2000s. That showed how susceptible we were in our communications. Well, this is all just a plan that was set in place 125 years ago that was advanced using technology and the social manipulation of 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 the progressive movement. And if you want verification of this, look up a book in the 1940s that is actually called "The Road We Are Traveling." That was basically the Agenda 21 like document that explained how they would do what they would do. And that actual book, "The Road We Are Traveling," and if you remember, President Obama had a documentary that was voice over by Tom Hanks. The name of that documentary is "The Road We Have Traveled."
Wow. You're right.
And what it is that actual 19, I think it was 1947 or 1950. Oh, yes, I think you Patrick, 1942. That the Road We Are Traveling pamphlet or book explained the system, the economic system they were moving into. At the time, they did not have a name for it. They actually called it System X in the book. Well, now we know the name of it. It's called modern monetary theory, and that includes the idea that every person receives a monthly check from the government, and that monthly check economically is actually has a reason for existing, because then there's no fluctuation in GDP of each region. If you know how much each area is going to generate in currency, then you know the economic GDP of that area.
So basically, they were going to try to keep everyone the same. You would not be able to get ahead. You wouldn't be able to fall behind. You would just get your rationings, and you would just live on that. So
Yep. And actually, we have that structure in place now. It's just we recognize it as the Federal Reserve adjusting interest rates,
right.
and all, because the Federal Reserve says they have two things they focus on in their charter, and that is unemployment. Change that around, not unemployment, employment. They're worried about how much currency the labor force individuals are receiving. If they make too much money, the production side of the progressive movement has labor issues. And if they don't make enough money, then the supply side of the progressive movement doesn't make enough income to support the system. And the taxation structure is that's why they're always changing the taxes, is that they need to moderate the amount of income that the labor class has, so that they're not too poor but not too rich. Well, if you roll that into a centralized structure, that is the idea of giving each person or each household a certain amount of money each month. It's just you're replacing it with a taxation structure. You're replacing it with an issuance of checks.
So with I just want to go back to Hillary for a second. Was she planning on the U.S. to lose the war?
Yes.
And
Yes.
Why did they want the U.S. to lose the war?
Because when the U.S. loses a war, like the Civil War,
Mm-hmm.
that allows for the reconstruction phase afterwards. Uh, the Civil War, the important part was not the war. It was the reconstruction phase afterwards. That's when, and if you talk with like sovereign citizens and all that, that's what the South was actually complaining about, was replacing the original construction of America based on the original amendments of the Constitution. The Reconstruction phase actually filed bankruptcy because Abraham Lincoln did not free the slaves. The Emancipation Proclamation was actually wiping out all of the individual and corporate debt of the old system and re-implementing, reconstructing the new corporate system of America.
I mean, so basically, I would think they would get rid of the Constitution and restructure the entire country to go along with the rest of the world. So then we have Trump. He stepped in 2016. Now, the thing is, they've been trying to get rid of him ever since he became president. I mean, they haven't stopped, and they're still not stopping. They're just continually doing what they've been doing. Now, what I think a lot of people are worried about, will they go to the next step? I mean, they got rid of JFK. Will they go to the next?
No.
Okay.
No, they can't. Their system is already dead.
Okay.
They're just propping it up, and Trump's laughing all the way because Trump is actually part of a group called the American First Group. Now, the America First Group was first created in the mid 90s. It was a group of generals that Clinton had gotten rid of and actually tried to kill. But the roots of the American First movement originates in the 1950s and even earlier. It's just how far back do you want to go, with the John Birch Society. And that lineage has continued and has now gotten strong enough to actually put up a resistance to the globalist movement. And Trump, when he was approached, and not even really approached, because Trump was relatively close friends with Richard Nixon, they'd write letters to each other.
He does like to write letters.
He does,
Yes.
and there's a reason
Yeah.
because he actually puts his seal on the letter. And if you know Trump's family history, they're very big on seals. That's a whole other story. But it's 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 this movement originated with an election of JFK, and JFK. Once JFK was no longer there, the progressive movement had infiltrated the education and the economic and the governmental structures enough where they could push the pro-American branch or individuals in the government down long enough. Once in a while, they pop their heads up and it'd be like a Reagan. Nixon was not really pro-American. Oh, never mind, that's a whole other story. But yes, Trump has nothing to worry about because the whole progressive system is actually based on technological advances of manipulation. That's why the voting systems, mostly owned until lately by George Soros, was completely manipulated. There's going to be a tidal wave. It's Trump's going to win, and he's going to win big. And
So you don't think this is going to be a close race at all? You think this is going to be, when he says red wave, it's going to come crash? Like, you think, I mean, people are talking about landslide, where they're saying that this is going to be so lopsided in Trump's favor. Do you think that was his plan all along? Or not just him, but people working with him?
Yep. The reason, and this is a little inside baseball, the reason, and this might sound weird, the reason they know is actually called closed caption. Right? There are NSA programs that run, they don't analyze voice, they analyze the closed caption technology to analyze the verbal communications of all of America. That's how they process everything, is through the closed caption system. And there is software that you can run on the closed caption system through your cell phone, through internet, through Skype, through everything, that will actually put out a report and analyze the mood of the actual communications of the American people. And that is 80% pro-Trump.
Wow.
Now, most people don't know about that technology existing. Maybe some people in the NSA, and luckily for me, through my channel, I've had conversations with people who work at places like that, who have explained things like that to me, and it makes sense. I mean, how do you analyze a voice? Well, you wouldn't. It would be more efficient if you analyzed an existing technology like closed caption.
So the mail-in manipulation, the chaos that they want to create. So this is, I mean, is this going to work, or because if there's a landslide or there's going to be a huge wave, this is going to break down and fizzle out for them?
Yes, there's a reason that they're panicking. Because now Trump is actually in the cockpit of the biggest weapon of manipulation ever created, the American government. And Trump has his hands on all of the little technologies, and he can manipulate or receive the information and reroute it through different channels. That's what the plunge protection team is it's just a valve for inflation. Well, Trump has rerouted the economic plumbing away from the progressive movement, and where all of the inflation created by the Federal Reserve that was for the longest time actually pumped into the progressive education system, the progressive banking system, the progressive military industrial complex. Well, Trump now has control in the Treasury, which is where all the bells and the turns and the knobs are at. Is Trump now handles where that inflation goes. And Trump is reversing it from shooting that inflation out and funding the global progressive revolution. He's actually turning that inflation and actually pumping it towards the American people. Well, as the inflation goes more and more to the American people, then the American economy grows and the progressive system dies because they can no longer fund their system with new dollars. That's why, and I saw the interview between you and I think her name's Lazang.
Lynette?
Yes. That's what the derivatives are. The derivatives are the rotten corpse of the old globalist system, and now they don't know what to do with the body. They're like, our system's dead, and we know it, and the derivatives are the rotting corpse of our system. And the initial plan was roll those derivatives into a blockchain structure and transition the value out of the derivatives into a global monetary blockchain, IMF. They would have called it the basket of currencies.
Right.
And that would have been our new financial system, actually based on the derivative structures of corporate globalism.
So now, since Trump has this control, is his plan, and this is what I personally think, I think his plan is to get rid of this system of the progressives, I call it the private Western Central Bank. You think in the end, that's his entire plan, is to remove all of this?
Yep. It's already dead. Trump has already put in place the structure for a new currency. About a month ago, the Treasury launched for the first time an emergency cryptocurrency or blockchain structured treasury bond issuance. Now, what that is, when you launch a new currency, you want it to be a real currency. What you do is you tie it with land, gold, production, reserves, a whole group of things humans value. And that's what Trump's doing, is that launch of the emergency bond. All Trump has to do is now actually back that bond with federal government owned land, federal government owned oil reserves, federal government owned copper or silver, and also something else, a new technology that's coming out. And Trump, although the progressive movement created the actual idea and I think created actual Bitcoin, Trump's going to use it against them, because how they're going to try and save their old system is move whatever of value left into Bitcoin. That's why the CEO of Twitter, on his Twitter handle, the only word there is Bitcoin. It's why he said, my goal is to make the Bitcoin the world global currency, because they have to roll up into something new as a collective. Well, Trump is the complete opposite. Trump doesn't hate, Iran's currency or Russia's currency, or he just loves America's currency. And the thing is that Trump's going to use the transition that the progressives actually panic into, which is Bitcoin. He's going to use that against them, because as the price of the actual Bitcoin goes up and actual cryptocurrencies go up, Trump is going to use that and use excess energy from America, and he'll mine actual Bitcoin. I don't have any proof of this, but I have a friend who supposedly worked at the NSA facility in Nevada, or no, Salt Lake City, yeah, or just outside of Salt Lake. He told me the federal government's been mining Bitcoin at that facility for quite some time now. Now, go ahead.
No, so with Bitcoin, I mean, you mentioned the head of Twitter, that he has Bitcoin on his profile. Is he allowing them to move forward with this, to use it against them? Is that what they're doing? So they think they're moving forward with Bitcoin. They're going to dump everything into it. They're going to create this new system, and he's just going to turn this around and use it against them.
Yep.
Wow.
See, Trump is a master of corporate jujitsu. He uses the energy of his enemy to his advantage.
I've seen that, yes.
And that, if you understand Trump's mentality, and I actually, because I'm a history buff, I actually went back and looked at every tweet that Trump's ever put out. It took me like 6 months. When you read every tweet that Trump has ever put out, because what is Twitter? It's basically public opinion, and it's your diary.
Yep.
It is your diary of your public opinion. Well, you read that, you know exactly where Trump's going. And that's why I've actually been so accurate on explaining what was coming. And that's why YouTube not so friendly to my channel, because my channel was, unfortunately for them, very accurate. It's why I've had more trouble with my channel than most people have ever even imagined, because it is accurate, and it's not based on smoke and all this
right.
anger agenda and stuff like that. It's actually based on logical, provable historical facts.
Where do you think we're moving towards after the election? I think, from what you're telling me, that Trump is going to win. And what do you think his next steps are?
His next step is just like he says in every book he's ever written: offense. America is going to go into an economic explosion that we haven't seen since 1830. It is going to be, you talk about make America great, America is going to be the shining city on the hill again. And the rest of the world is going to see it, because Trump is going to launch the new currency. The new currency is actually going to be backed with American production, GDP, productivity, economic energy, blockchain technology implemented into the federal government voting system. It's already being worked on. I know people that are actually working on it. It's once the election's over, it's over for the progressive movement. There's going to be, I think, mass suicides. There's going to be a flood of Americans leaving America, because the prosecutions will begin. And these are going to be provable prosecutions of tyranny there'll be no question. They'll have documentation. They'll have record. It's what we see with like Joe Biden and Hunter Biden right now.
Yeah.
They cannot deny the emails. They can just hopefully ignore them. And they're never going to win. They know they're not going to win the election. This is dragging out as long as they can. Well, once the election's over, Trump is no longer going to allow any dragging out. It's going to be arrests. And get ready, folks. It's going to be one hell of a show.
Biden kept on saying dark winter, and there's an actual operation called Dark Winter. I just wanted to get your take on what that is.
No, they may have a few tricks up their sleeves, right, but they don't have anything. And there's not going to be another release of a. That's all been squashed.
Great.
It's literally after the election. We've already won, my friends. It's just we haven't been told we've won yet.
We're going to find out very soon that we won.
After the election, you're going to see Trump replace some very key individuals, put in Flynn and several other very key individuals into the Treasury Department, and it's going to be all good. They will try and fight back, and it's going to be swatting flies. Trump is just going to roll over them through the media, it's just going to fall apart after the election for the progressive movement, and it's already starting.
Ben, thank you very much for coming on the Act 22 Report Spotlight. Once again, how can people see your work?
If you want to see all of my work, it's actually on Patreon. I charge a whopping $5 a month for my Patreon, but every interview I do, every Patreon I put out almost every day. Right now I'm on tour, but check me out at www.patreon.com/BitcoinBen. That's where you get everything for just $5 a month. You can jump around on other channels and try and find me here or there, but if you want the full Bitcoin Ben effect, it's definitely on Patreon.